The Price of Steel and Silk. Chapter 2. The Standoff. 1. The Calculated Dance. Elias Van Der Linden did not wait for an answer. He took Clara Benton's arm, a gesture of command, not courtesy, and steered her onto the floor as the orchestra struck up a waltz. The move was instantaneous and public, a declaration that she was his interest for the moment. Clara, taken by surprise, allowed herself to be swept into the rhythm, her sapphire velvet dress a contrast against his stark, dark coat. The tension between them was palpable, a live wire beneath the formal, glittering performance. "You surprise me, Miss Benton," Elias murmured, his eyes fixed on the dizzying rotation of the crystal chandeliers. A revolutionary who obeys the rules of the ballroom. "I told you, Mr. Van der Linden, I dance when the tune is worth the effort, and tonight the tune is information. Tell me, is the delay in grain shipments to the Mesabi miners intended to break the strike or merely to ensure your personal profit margin?" He executed a sharp turn, pulling her closer. "Profit, Miss Benton, is not a margin. It is the engine of progress. And if a few hungry men expedite the building of 1,000 miles of railway, then that is the necessary cost. Your father's paper calls this cruelty. I call it efficiency." "And your efficiency smells of desperation," Clara shot back, her breath catching slightly. "You fear the Tribune because it prints what your steel foundries try to melt down, the truth. And I assure you, my father will not sell." Elias's grip tightened imperceptibly on her hand. "The man who controls the steel controls the flow of commerce. The man who controls the paper controls nothing but sentiment. Every day your father refuses my offer, the price of his silence rises, and his newspaper's chances of survival fall." The music ended, and he brought her to a halt precisely in the center of the room. He bowed, a gesture of cold formality. "Thank you for the stimulating conversation, Miss Benton. I shall send a revised offer for the Tribune tomorrow morning. It will be lower than the last." 2. The Empty Ledger. Clara found her father, Mr. Thomas Benton, standing alone by a recessed alcove, his face shadowed with exhaustion beneath the ballroom's brilliant light. He was a man of integrity, but little physical resilience. The fight with Van der Linden was draining him. "Clara, what were you doing? Dancing with the man who is trying to ruin us?" Thomas asked, his voice shaking slightly. "I was assessing the enemy, father. He is ruthless, calculating, and fully intends to buy you out or bury you." "He doesn't need to buy me out anymore, dear. He has already buried us." Thomas pulled a folded telegram from his coat pocket. "Just an hour ago, while we were here admiring the silk, the Bank of New York recalled our operating loan. Van der Linden leveraged his relationship with the bank's director. We cannot afford the printing press rental fee next week. The Tribune is dead, Clara." Clara stared at the telegram, the festive roar of the ballroom suddenly deafening. Her mother's anxious face appeared beside them. "Thomas, you must accept his offer before it is too late," Mrs. Benton pleaded. "Accept it," Clara finally spoke, her eyes burning with resolve. "No, we cannot take the voice of the workers to the man who exploits them. If we can't print, we will find another way to publish. We still have the editorial, father. I will make sure the city reads it." "How, Clara? Do you plan to engrave it on his steel?" Thomas asked sadly. "No, I shall bring the truth where he cannot silence it. I will use the silk of this society against the steel he worships. 3. The weapon of society. The next morning, the revised, lower offer from Elias Van Der Linden arrived at the Benton brownstone, a curt, typed-written note and a check that barely covered their immediate debt. Thomas Benton looked defeated. Clara ignored the offer. She spent the day not at her writing desk, but in the bustling, less refined districts of the city. She visited the printing union headquarters and the small community centers supported by the Misabi strikers. She read her scathing editorial aloud. That evening, she attended a small, intimate social gathering hosted by Mrs. Astor's niece, a gathering Elias was also rumored to attend. Clara did not wear her sapphire velvet. Instead, she wore a simple, white cotton dress, almost painfully plain amid the opulence. And pinned to her chest was the single, most remarkable piece of silk she owned, a small, hand-stitched patch embroidered with the words, "The price of iron ore, desperation." As the guests sipped champagne, Clara moved through the room, engaging the wives and daughters of New York's elite. She did not speak of politics or finance. She spoke of the hunger of children, the cold houses, and the Tribune's impending closure. When Elias Van Der Linden arrived, he noticed the strange silence surrounding Clara. He noticed the women looking down at her dress, then back up at him with sudden uncomfortable curiosity. He approached her, his face a mask of cold fury. "What game are you playing now, Miss Benton? Society is not your pulpit." Clara smiled, a genuinely confident smile this time. "You were right, Mr. Van Der Linden. Sentiment loses money, but society loves a scandal. They may not read the Tribune, but they will certainly discuss the plain truth pinned to a woman at a ball. You control the presses, but I control the whispers, and sometimes a whisper is louder than the clang of steel."